Okay. Hi. Welcome. I hope everybody has their snow has melted and they've got their feel for the snow and now ready to warm up and get back to normal. So I would like to call this meeting to order. And first, we will have the approval of the October. We need to do the who's here. Correct.
Mhm.
Okay, so first we will see the attendance. So, Chris, if you want to read that out.
I will be glad to. So, good afternoon, everybody. In order to document attendance, I'm going to call the roll for everyone present. Your names will be announced according to how they are listed in KRS 158842. When I call your name, I will also include the role in which you've been assigned as provided in statute. When your name and role has been announced, please state your name for the record and announce present. To begin, as an example, I am serving as committee administrator, and for the record, I am Chris Jarbo and am present. So, high school mathematics teacher, Ashley Adams.
Ashley Adams, present.
Middle school administrator, Chris Barwell. District administrator, Melissa Biggerstaff.
Melissa Biggerstaff, present.
Kentucky Center for Mathematics director and/or designee, Kelly DeLong.
Kelly Stone DeLong, present.
Association of Independent Kentucky Colleges and University president and/or designee, Mason Dyer. Council on Post-Secondary Education president or designee, Amanda Ellis. Elementary administrator or math coach, Donna Froge. Adult education instructor, Zach Gibbons. Northern Kentucky University faculty, Funda Gunalates.
Funda Gunalates, present.
Elementary mathematics teacher, Jeannie Jones. District administrator or math coach, Stacy Justice. Education and Workforce Development Cabinet Secretary and/or designee, Jamie Link. Elementary school mathematics teacher, Alvia Littleton. Eastern Kentucky University faculty, Jamie Marie Miller.
Jamie Marie Miller, present.
Advanced Kentucky president, Anthony Myers.
Anthony Myers, present.
High school administrator or math coach, Michael Phillips. Middle school mathematics teacher, Natalie Rashad. Kentucky Department of Education Commissioner or designee, Crystal Rowland.
Crystal Rowland, present.
High school mathematics teacher, Joanna Stevens. Kentucky Community and Technical College faculty, Jason Taylor. Murray State University faculty, Ed Tommy.
Ed Tommy, present.
PIMSR Executive Director or designee, Kim Ziedler Waters. Okay, the roll has been called.
Thank you. So just as a reminder, the Committee for Mathematics Achievement was created legislatively under KRS 158842 for the purpose of developing a multifaceted strategic plan to improve student achievement in mathematics at all levels of schooling, pre-kindergarten through post-secondary and adult. This meeting must comply with the requirements of the Open Meetings Act, and accordingly, CMA members must ensure that their video is streaming and can be seen through the duration of the meeting. Members and guests, please remember to mute your microphone when not talking. However, all discussions must be broadcast to the public. Therefore, be sure your microphone is not muted when you speak. Every time you speak during the meeting, please unmute your microphone, state your name, take a short pause to give the software time to recognize you. For any roll call vote, it will be necessary to record the vote for each committee member, which at that time the member should state his or her name, pause, and then state, "I vote yes" or "I vote no." The agenda was shared prior to tonight's meeting. Should we see? We'll do the minutes first. So the minutes were also shared prior to tonight's meeting. And so we can drop a link in the chat if you need that, but I will entertain a motion to approve October's minutes.
I, Funda Gülnateş, make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
I, Melissa Biggerstaff, second.
We will continue with a roll call vote.
Ashley Adams,
Ashley Adams, yes.
Chris Barwell, Melissa Biggerstaff,
Melissa Biggerstaff, yes.
Kelly DeLong,
Kelly Stone DeLong, yes.
Donna Froge,
Donna Froge, yes.
Funda Gunalatesh,
Funda Gülnateş, yes.
Jamie Marie Miller,
Jamie Marie Miller, yes.
Anthony Myers,
Anthony Myers, yes.
Crystal Rowland,
Crystal Rowland, yes.
Jason Taylor, and Ed Tommy.
Ed Tommy, yes.
And Jason, I think I'm not able to hear you. We might want to go out and come back in, but you can also just put your response in the chat. Okay, thank you.
The agenda was also shared prior to tonight's meeting, so I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve, Crystal Rowland.
And do we have a second?
Second, Jamie Marie Miller.
And now we will continue with the roll call vote.
Okay, Ashley Adams,
Ashley Adams, yes.
Melissa Biggerstaff,
Melissa Biggerstaff, yes.
Kelly Stone DeLong,
Kelly Stone DeLong, yes.
Donna Froge,
Donna Froge, yes.
Funda Gunalatesh,
Funda Gülnateş, yes.
Jamie Marie Miller,
Jamie Marie Miller, yes.
Anthony Myers,
Anthony Myers, yes.
Crystal Rowland,
Crystal Rowland, yes.
Jason Taylor, Ed Tommy.
Ed Tommy, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will hear some KDE updates.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Make sure everybody can hear me. If somebody will give me a thumbs up. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So I am Jennifer Fraley. I have been with you several other times. You had an update a meeting or two ago about the overall scope of House Bill 162. So I'm not going to take a great lot of your time tonight, but I am going to give you some updates on some of the centers of work going on with the Kentucky Numeracy Counts Act. And many of you on this call are critical to one or more of those initiatives. So you'll see yourself in a lot of the things that I am talking about. First on the list is that published list of universal screeners and diagnostics. We know that is a critical foundational piece of our multi-tiered system of supports, and that work is going on. We have accepted proposals from 12 different assessment vendors, and we will have a published list of those universal screeners and diagnostics that have met the classification accuracy, the reliability, and the validity standards that have been set forth by the Kentucky Department of Education. We will have that list published by February the 7th. So we are in the last stages of cleaning up. When we publish that list, there will, of course, be the published list, but then we will also have some one-page tools that districts will be able to use to kind of get a big overview of those assessments, as well as a spreadsheet that lists all of the assessments and gives districts the opportunity to kind of compare them with each other. So we are working on those accompanying documents that go along with that published list. We're very happy that we're getting that list published in February of 2025 because districts do not have to make that adoption of a screener or a diagnostic until January of 2026. So that gives you almost a full calendar year to review those diagnostics and screeners and make some decisions, and then actually adopt those in the 26-27 school year. So we do believe we will have another round of submissions and a chance for other assessment vendors to get added to that list before districts have to make a decision about which of those they will adopt. Remember, a screener is that assessment that is given usually 3 times a school year, at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year. That kind of gives you a broad overview of where that student is in relation to maybe grade level proficiency or proficiency on that state assessment. And then the diagnostic assessment is that assessment that we use when the screener throws up that red flag and says, there's some problems here. And then we can dig deeper to find what area of mathematics that student is having a problem in. So that's been a big piece of our work, working on reviewing all of those assessments and reading all about reliability and validity, and it's great fun. And so looking forward to getting that list published. Then we have lots of work going on around our professional learning academies. EPIC's Numeracy Alliance, which is actually kind of engaged in an action research kind of project around Carnegie Learning's patterns. They are up and going with 200 educators across the state. Anthony is on the call, and Anthony's group has had applications and made visits to school districts and schools to identify those that will be participating in access to algebra. So their new cohort has been notified and identified, and they will begin working this summer. And then I have Kelly Stone on the call, and I think maybe Kim is on the call as well. And they are working on very hard on getting ready for 2 rather large professional learning opportunities that are going to be happening in our state. And some information has gone out in the last little bit about those. One is our PIMSR Numeracy Counts Administrator Academy. We're able to say PNCA squared, so we can throw in a little math language there. So that is for our administrators, our district administrators and our school level administrators across the state who are working to support math teaching and learning in their buildings. So I know some of you, I see a couple of folks that have been identified as part of PIMSR's advisory committee, and they will be meeting this week to give feedback on some of the initial work around the design of that administrator academy, content of that academy, and give feedback to the developers. And then KCM's Teacher Academy, I should say that the Administrator Academy is targeting about 250 administrators across the state, and KCM's K5 Numeracy Counts Teacher Academy is targeting 1,000 teachers in year one, looking then at adding another 1,000 teachers in year two. Registration for both of those academies will open in mid-March. I think we've identified March 17th as our registration date, but there has been some information go out since I sent these slides to Chris, actually, of some informational dates where folks who are interested in learning more about those academies can join Kelly, Kim, and we will talk a little bit about the design of those academies, what their scope is, and for people who are interested in attending, give them a little bit more information. So there has been information that has gone out across the state about that, but we also will be including that in KDE communications coming up. So we'll have that, you'll have opportunities. There's 3 different informational sessions. They are the same content, but the opportunity to attend at different times, different days and different times of the day, so that you are you're able to work those in within your calendar. And I will make sure those dates and times get posted in the chat box so that you have them. I see Kim is typing. She may be doing that right now. So yes, and so Kim's making a really good point that the whole intention behind having the administrator and the teacher academies kind of doing some common planning is so that we can make sure that the administrators are learning about the same kinds of things their teachers are learning about in their teacher academy. We talked about this a little bit when I first met with you, but just the whole intentionality around the alignment between the Administrator Academy and the Teacher Academy, so that we know that the administrators are in a position to support those teachers, to know what to look for in that teacher's classroom, to know what supports that teacher has been provided, and then to be able to be that extra layer of support that sometimes is what is needed in order for that learning to stick and to take place and to actually see evidence of that learning in a classroom. And then the other area that I wanted to briefly mention is our K3 Numeracy Counts High Quality Instructional Resource Grant that it went out the first full week of January. So folks are working on those grants. They are designed to provide around 40 districts with $70,000 to either implement a high quality instructional resource in K3 and provide support for that curriculum-based professional learning that is needed in order for that implementation of that high quality instructional resource to be successful. So these grants are available for districts to purchase a high quality instructional resource for K3 grades and teachers, or to provide that curriculum-based professional learning for that. We had a technical assistance session already for that grant. That recording of that technical assistance session and all of the information about that grant is posted on the KDE Competitive Grant Awards competitive grant page, and the grants are actually due on March the 6th. So we've got a little bit of window of time here as districts. This is a little different. In the past, we have done HQIR grants by school, but the House Bill 162, the Kentucky Numeracy Counts Act, specifies that these grants are for districts. So districts will have to really pull together those schools that have needs around HQIRs, and or that curriculum-based professional learning for those grant proposals. Really quick update around cross-agency action items. We talked about some of these early on, and now some work has been done around that. So the Educational Professional Standards Board work group that was considering assessments for teacher preparation programs or candidates in teacher preparation programs did make the recommendation to the Standards Board to move from the Praxis 5000 to the Praxis 7000 series, which includes a change to that math specific assessment. It is a fewer items and a little less time, but as far as the scope of things, it's pretty similar to the prior assessment that our candidates took. And then the Standards Board work group that was working around rubrics, because one of the things that was in the language of House Bill 162 that we talked about the last time we were together was that the Standards Board would recommend an observation rubric, a math-specific observation rubric that would be used in our EPP programs. As our pre-service teachers were doing their methods work, were doing their student teaching. So what that group ended up doing, rather than moving forward with the recommendation of one rubric, they went forward with the idea to pilot 4 in the spring semester. So our EPPs have identified one or more of these rubrics that they would like to pilot with their students, and then they will come back with some qualitative and quantitative data that we'll be able to analyze and determine which of these rubrics will be recommended to the Standards Board as a math-specific rubric. So you see there the Kentucky Mathematics Innovation Tool and the Kentucky Instructional Practice Guide are two documents that are very familiar to K-12. Those are things that the Department of Education has shared and provided training to schools and districts on. There's also the New Teacher Project, the TNTP Math Observation Protocol, and then Jenny Bay Williams had some connections with the MCOP Squared, which stands for the Mathematics Classroom Observation Protocol for Practices. And it is very much rooted in math standards, math practices, and standards for mathematical practice and the effective math teaching practices. So it was one that we really wanted to see on here so that we could pilot it as well and get some feedback. So that work is going on in our post-secondary institutions. And just as a recap, I made a reference to this when we were looking at our little schedule slide, is that by January of 2026, superintendents are going to select a screener and a diagnostic that is going to be used with students in grades K through 3. Remember, a lot of this language in this legislation is for elementary. Ensure that teachers are trained on those screeners and diagnostics prior to the start of that 26-27 school year, and then implementation will begin in the 26-27 school year. And then kind of last, this work is very much paralleling the work that has gone on with early literacy. They have really kind of blazed the trail for us, and it kind of provided a great model for what this work around numeracy was going to look like with this rollout. So as we administer those universal screeners and diagnostics, and we begin to get that data about our students, then kind of following that same work that's going on with early literacy, schools will develop those mathematics improvement plans for their students who have needs that have been identified in order to reach proficiency. So, that work is, it's going to, it's being started now with the universal screener and the diagnostics, but we have lots of work to do around providing those templates for those mathematics improvement plans and giving direction to our schools and districts about resources and supports that they can use to help those students who have gaps in their progress toward reaching proficiency. I think that's pretty much all there. I shared these resources before with you, House Bill 162 and the implementation timeline. As that universal screener and diagnostic list becomes published, you will find it on our Kentucky Numeracy Counts webpage. There will be links to a lot of this information about our upcoming academies. Our Kentucky Numeracy Counts partners will have a presence at the Kentucky Center for Mathematics Conference on March 3rd and 4th in Lexington. So this will be a chance for you to see all of the Kentucky Numeracy Counts partners in one place. We will be there, and I have a feeling, with this being the Committee on Mathematics Achievement, that I'll see a lot of you all there too. So looking forward to that. And there's my email in case you need to contact me.
Thank you, Dr. Fraley. Does anybody have any questions for her before we go on?
No, I just wanted to make sure I'm correct. Jennifer, I put a note over there in the chat. Is that correct? Students who already have a 504 and
partially
IEP.
Correct.
Okay, correct us on that.
It's partially correct. If that student already has an IEP or a 504 that includes those math goals, then an additional plan is not needed. But if that IEP or 504 does not specify those mathematics goals, then they will need that plan.
Okay, that's one question the administrators are asking. So thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Thank you, Dr. Fraley. That was a lot of good, important information.
Thanks, Ashley, for the time.
All right, so next we'll get to what we've all been working towards in this committee. It is now time to actually approve our strategic plan. So I just want to thank everybody who's taken any time to work on this, give feedback, all the different parts that came together to make this plan. So hopefully you had time before today to go through that, see any changes that were made prior to this meeting from the last one that Chris sent out in an email. But so now I'm just gonna, we're ready to approve. So do I have anyone who would like to make a motion to approve our strategic plan?
Kelly Stone DeLong, motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Bunda
Looks like-
Gülün Ateş, second.
I was gonna say Jason Taylor seconded in the chat as well.
And now we will take a roll call vote.
Okay. As I call your name, please state your name and whether you have a yay or nay vote. Ashley Adams.
Ashley Adams, yes.
Melissa Biggerstaff.
Melissa Biggerstaff, yes.
Kelly Stone DeLong.
Kelly Stone DeLong, yes.
Donna Froge.
Donna Froge, yes.
Funda Gunilates.
Bunda Gülün Ateş, yes.
Jamie Marie Miller.
Jamie Marie Miller, yes.
Anthony Myers.
Anthony Myers, yes.
Michael Phillips.
Michael Phillips, yes.
Crystal Rowland.
Crystal Rowland, yes.
Jason Taylor. Ed Tommy.
Ed Tommy, yes.
Kim Ziedler Waters.
Kim Zeidler Waters, yes.
Okay, we have a unanimous vote, so the strategic plan passes and will be publicly made available on the website tomorrow.
Awesome. So next steps for that is how we are going to communicate this to everyone. It will go to the legislature later on, and they will look at it and decide if they want to make any decisions from that. But this is something, like she said, will go on the website tomorrow. And so our next piece is how do we want to communicate? What vision do we see, or what would our committee like to see as our communication vision? When I first started on this, one of my biggest things was I didn't even know this was a law. I had no idea that there was a previous plan as a teacher in my classroom. And so I feel very strongly that I would like for all teachers to be made aware of this. So, they can start to use this and make their own plan maybe in their district. So some things to think about is, what would the committee like to see as our communication vision? What would we like to see stakeholders doing with this plan? So would anyone like to share some ideas?
I just had a quick question before we get ideas. You said goes to the legislature. What could you elaborate on that? Is there going to be a presentation, a committee presentation, or what's the
I can
rollout?
share here. So we do submit, along with sort of the activities of the Committee for Mathematics Achievement, they'll get an update on that work as well as a copy of the strategic plan. And so I don't believe that will be like a formal presentation unless requested by the legislature, but they will be informed of like the work of the committee. I will say one of the most powerful things about the plan is just the opportunity to create that vision and mission for the work to improve mathematics, and really an opportunity to focus collective efforts of our students, families, schools, community, and policymakers for the benefit of our students from early learning all the way through adulthood. And so I'm really excited of the promise that this brings for improving the landscape of math education in Kentucky. But we have to think about how are we creating access to this plan and what's included in it to all of those stakeholders that we really want to be able to engage in that mission.
So one thing that we need to think about when our decision is made is what our communication plan is, how we want to direct people to this on the website, is that we want to ensure that people understand it's important, but there's not a penalty. We know that, some administrators may take this and, make it the law in their building, while some may not read it at all. So we want to find that happy medium and make sure that just the language, when we do communicate it, does make sure that people understand that, yes, it's very important, but there is no penalty to this. And so I know we have like KCM and PIMSR that have a lot of communication with K-8. So we also want to think about how do we want to make sure that we are communicating this to 9 through 12 and our post-secondary and adult ed groups. Do we want this to be made aware to parents? So what are some ideas that you have?
I was going to say that we do have a variety of stakeholders, and to that end, maybe we think about it in terms of the most effective way to get those stakeholders. So I'm going to start with our, our community and our parents. And so that could be one group where we probably need some multimedia blast from our local, potentially out of KDE or vetted through our local TV stations that may have tremendous interest in that for parents in a positive way. Indeed, KCM will have an audience of up to 600 teachers So we can problem solve a little bit about how to get those very interested stakeholders. I will say that our just by nature of observation, there are lots of really young teachers that are coming to the KCM conference, new to the field, it's almost as if it is a respite for them to come together and really think about mathematics, our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers, our middle school teachers. And so we will, I will take that back to KCM to think about how can we get that information out in a way for that. So you can count on us. You can count on us for that.
You know, Kelly, you talked about multimedia, and I wonder if we could do a press release from
Yeah.
KDE
Yeah,
that it has been
absolutely.
updated just to share some awareness there.
I agree. Crystal, it has such a beautiful visual feel. It feels fresh. It feels updated. It feels like something that nationally, you know, I look at the other ones that we had as examples. I think this one is actually better than all that we had as the examples. And so I'm super proud of that. Kudos to you and Chris for some of those little visual nuances that came to fruition in that. So indeed, I think CAMTE, for which I think Jamie Murray CAMTE is going to be super important to get the word out for our teacher prep, because we did address that. Ed, Funda, active members in that group. Funda, remind me who's president this year.
Dee Crestel is the president, so we will definitely, I think we should share with that.
That's
yeah,
right, and I know they
yeah.
have
Yeah.
I know they.
Yeah, and we usually have summit every May, so probably it can be. I think that might be an agenda item for KMT. We can email the Crystal to include as an agenda item to include that. I really like the page 7 one-page flyer, and I think that can be used in social media in various outlets because it gives an overview of the vision, especially people don't want to read a long document, but it gives, this is the sense and it's kind of a checklist. I think the important thing for the strategic plan is what is the purpose? What do I do with it? Okay, this is amazing. This is really great. But what do I with it? I think giving the message, this should inform your mission, vision at your school, at your district, at your university about how you do things. For example, as a higher educator, when I look at the strategic plan, I think about in our methods courses, are we aiming all students? Are we encouraging students to be continuous learners? Are we encouraging family connections? So I think that should inform what we do in our classes in the higher education as well as at the K-12 level as well.
I agree. I think that's important, that, you know, in our communication, besides just telling people this is there, you know, what's the expectation of what they're supposed to do with it? You know, if we send this, if administrators get this idea, do they understand what that means that they want their teachers to do with it? Do the teachers understand that? So do we have some ideas of like how we want to communicate that this is like, you know, it would be great if you know, use this to create your own district plan, or, you know, just to get ideas. You know, what are some things that you would like to see the strategic plan do, and how it be utilized?
As you were talking, it made me think about, we have our principal advisory council that supports the agency, and even bring the strategic plan forward to them and get their thinking around what might support schools and engaging with the plan, and how that might impact, you know, their decision making locally. Also think about other organizations across the state that support mathematics education, like our educational cooperatives, in ensuring their awareness of the plan as well might be important.
Yeah, Crystal, that's exactly what I started to say. I think we almost need a communication plan on rolling out the plan. It's, as somebody who worked at a regional cooperative for several years, there's a lot that those folks can do to help us connect to district leaders, school leaders, teachers. So we certainly have a lot of partners, both higher education and K-12 partners, that I think we need to depend on to help communicate the plan and how to best utilize the plan. I can even see an opportunity if someone is providing math professional learning, making specific connections to the strategic plan and how you can take the strategic plan back to your school or your district and use that strategically. So I think there's a lot of opportunities with the partners that we have in Kentucky.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Melissa just said. I think it's important for us to embrace it and use it. So when we're demonstrating professional development or whatever we're doing, when we're communicating with schools, it's very easy to reference it, I think, or it should be easy for us to reference it, having gone through the process of creating it, right? But I think the more that we see it used in practice, the more it'll become part of the teaching culture, right? And I think that's key to getting traction, having it get traction.
As we are getting ready to roll out 2 very large academies this summer, we can be very intentional to make sure that in the planning of our academies that we are aligning to that strategic plan, but then also show our participants that alignment so that they understand what is in the plan and how what they're participating in is part of an overall strategic plan. So that's exciting.
I love
So I
that
think
idea, and I love the idea of really anchoring professional learning in it and tying it back to that. I know KCM hosted some meetings, I believe it was about a year ago, Kelly, you can correct me if I'm wrong, to really look at our state data and to bring stakeholders together to really problem solve around how we can improve mathematics education. And I think one of the findings from that that came up was just really needing sort of that guiding star in Kentucky that really focuses professional learning for all of our teachers in our schools. And I think that the strategic plan does a nice job of that. And so I think it's going to fill a need that we have, a gap that we have. And so I think anchoring it in PL is a fitting place to help communicate it.
So, Crystal, I have a question. We've heard a lot of great ideas, but like Melissa said, maybe we need like an actual plan for communication. Could we have another meeting, a small meeting for just those who would like to kind of make a list of these are the people we want, so that we are ensuring that we're not leaving out any of our stakeholders when we decide how it's going to go, instead of just, we think it should be this and this and this and this, but like actually like forming that plan, this list, and ensuring that we have made a way to communicate that to all of our stakeholders. I feel like maybe we need like time to think about who all of the different avenues, and maybe come together or do a survey. What do you think?
Well, I do know at the end of the meeting, we'll send out a survey to collect all of our ideas around communication. So I think it's important that you might want time to process and then kind of come with ideas. But I think there's been a couple of things mentioned tonight that could be next steps. And so Ashley, you kind of talked about the potential of having a subcommittee work on a communication plan. And so that could be a possibility if you wanted to see who might be willing to serve on that committee to sort of draft a plan, bring it to the full CMA for feedback, and then sort of finalize that. The other thing that was mentioned was really partnering with the regional cooperatives to help develop a plan, as they really work in a network across the state as well. And so I think either of those could be good options, or we could just choose one. It's up to the committee.
I like both ideas. It may be even a good idea if we did do a subcommittee that we ask for one person from each cooperative to, because in our subcommittee we can get other stakeholders. If I'm correct, that was the way it was before. We could ask other stakeholders to be a part of it. And so anybody on this committee that wanted to be a part of it, but then maybe ask for one person from each cooperative to also serve on the subcommittee with us to develop the plan for communication. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's fair to reach out to the cooperatives to see if they would like to have representation on that subcommittee, or if the subcommittee wants to draft a plan and then send it for feedback from the cooperatives.
So I see a lot of people who would like to be on this subcommittee. So I don't think we need a motion to form a subcommittee, correct? Do we need a motion to do that?
I think we probably should motion in second.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and do that. Would anyone like to make a motion to form a subcommittee to draft a communication plan?
Melissa Biggerstaff, I make a motion to form a subcommittee to draft a communication plan.
Do we have a second?
Anthony Myers, second.
And we'll have a roll call vote.
Ashley Adams,
Ashley Adams, yes.
Melissa Biggerstaff,
Melissa Biggerstaff, yes.
Kelly Stone DeLong,
Kelly Stone DeLong, yes.
Donna Froge,
Donna Froge, yes.
Funda Gunalatess,
Funda Gunalatess, yes.
Jamie Marie Miller,
Jamie Marie Miller, yes.
Anthony Myers,
Anthony Myers, yes.
Michael Phillips,
Michael Phillips, yes.
Crystal Rowland,
Crystal Rowland, yes.
Jason Taylor, Ed Tommy,
Yes.
Kim Zeidler Waters.
Kim Zeidler Waters, yes.
I think
Awesome,
next
thank you.
steps, Chris, if you'll send out a survey or add to the survey if people want to volunteer to be on the subcommittee.
Great. All right, so I think we'll kind of go from there on the communication, and then on our next piece is on our implementation feedback. So the law for our committee actually states that the committee shall have ongoing responsibility for providing advice and guidance to policymakers in the development of statewide policies and in the identification and allocation of resources to improve mathematics achievement. In carrying out this responsibility, the committee shall periodically review the strategic plan and make modifications as deemed appropriate and report those to the Interim Joint Committee on Education. So we've made this plan, we've got it approved. Our next steps is how we're going to communicate it, but something that we're going to need to think about ongoing later on in our meetings later in the year and next year, and as the committee goes on, is how can the committee collect evidence of statewide improvements regarding mathematics achievement? So, how can we collect evidence of what's happening with this plan and its effectiveness throughout the state? So, does anybody have any ideas on what you would like for us to collect and how we would do that? Yeah, potentially we could look at the number of certified mathematics teachers or the number of vacant positions for mathematics courses, ACT performance, KSA data. Those are all things that we could, look at. Does anybody have any other ideas? And this will be something that we'll think about as we go along after we've communicated the plan.
I think what's important to note is we have a beautiful plan and we've got to communicate it out and give it some time in implementation to really know if it's being effective. But the law does say, there's opportunities to revisit that. And so the CMA can think about when and if there needs to be a revisiting of the plan and revisions made. And so thinking about who are folks that we might want to hear from about things that are impacting mathematics education in Kentucky. So we kind of have an awareness of how things are progressing. And so as Ashley, you said around teacher certification numbers or how many vacant positions do we have in mathematics classrooms in Kentucky? I think those are important things to sort of have an awareness of as we move forward in making decisions.
One of the things that I think is important is that we think about it by pillar. And so not as to spread the peanut butter too thin, but we've got pillars that we've thoughtfully partitioned in categories that I think there are metrics by which we can measure them. And sometimes deeper is better than wider. So with that being said, I just offer that up. And maybe some of the first steps are what Crystal says, and that's, she's wise to mention that some of this stuff needs to simmer a little bit, and some of the things can become metrics by which we can see annually and or by semester. So without further ado and explaining, more about that, but I think if we thought by pillar, we may have something that is a reasonable metric by which we could be measured.
Also think about the different roles represented on the committee as well. And so each role group may have access to different types of data or awareness of different types of data points that would impact those key essential pillars that Kelly talked about as well.
Yeah, I think Kelly brought up an important point. I think we need to almost dissect each of those pillars and identify the key performance indicators that are tied back to those. If we've identified the pillars as being important, we have to, make sure. I looked at the first one, student empowerment. I don't know that there's a ready indicator, that we can reach to that already exists. So I mean, we need to hash that out and discuss that. But we definitely need an indicator for that because that's pillar number one, So I think that would be a good discussion to have. But.
And I know that is a question on the survey after the meeting as well, is what are some of the data points? But I think sounds like a possible next step might be really identifying what are those metrics under each key pillar.
I agree. I think that's the best way to look at it. That's the way we developed the plan. That way we know if there's an issue with just maybe this one pillar, like maybe people aren't understanding what our ideas and goals were for that. Do they need to be revised? Because maybe some pillars were, this plan has a lot of great ideas for, and then maybe some just need to be revised. So I think looking at it by pillar and the metrics for each one separately is the best way to go forward with that. I think it will take some time to think about all the different pieces, like Crystal said, with all the different stakeholders, with it being K-12, post-secondary, adult ed, what those metrics will look different for each of those types of students that we're looking at also.
Yeah, and I think in fairness to our districts, once we identify those indicators, that's what they're going to look to make an impact. So, we really need to be thoughtful about the ones we choose, but they also need them at the same time. They've got the document and the language, but I think the indicators that we ultimately end up choosing will help them guide themselves as well, right? Because that's what we've identified as important as indicators for each of these pillars. So, yeah.
Does anybody else have anything they would like to add to that, or have any questions they would like to ask? Well, I think our next steps are Chris will send out the survey, and you give your information that you have on that, and if you are willing to and would like to serve on that subcommittee, and that's really our very next step is to decide on that, when our subcommittee will meet, how we'll meet, and form that communication plan. But again, it does go live on the website tomorrow, as far as I understand. So you can go ahead and be sharing that with the people that you are close to, and can share that with, and go ahead and start getting the word out for that, so that people can be looking at that. Does anyone else have anything else? So Crystal, will we need to maybe have a different meeting to come together and approve the communication plan once our subcommittee does that work?
I would recommend a similar process that the subcommittee went through for the plan itself, where they sort of draft a recommendation, bring it to the committee for feedback, and then respond to that feedback and then bring it for a final approval, unless the committee feels great about the plan, as designed by the subcommittee at that time.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Crystal Rowland. Motion to adjourn.
And a
Anthony
second.
Myers, second.
All right, the meeting has adjourned at 5:56. Thank you all so much.